Ascendance of a Bookworm is great. It is a gem of an isekai, and I wish more people loved it like I do. It is not your average isekai though. It is not flashy or action-packed, and there's a refreshing absence of boobs thrown at my face, which I truly appreciated. Except for this lady, I guess. But even so, this was pretty mild. At first glance, the world building seems underwhelming, as it just looks like our heroine was thrown back in time to a point in history when the printing press hadn't yet been invented. And as the fantasy element is not something our protagonist has to deal with day to day, it just slips into the back burner. Some people have categorized Ascendance of a Bookworm as a slice of life, probably due to the pacing, especially in the first half of season 1. Yet it's not really a cute girls doing cute things kind of deal, really. Nor is it an atmospheric or gorgeous art piece with stylized visuals or melodramatic backstories either. I mean, I daydream of an Ascendance of a Bookworm with the kind of treatment that Violet Evergarden got. Yeah, I know, a girl can dream, right? And there's not even any romance. There's not even a whiff of it to be found. We may have our ships, but realistically, this is a little 7-year-old girl we're talking about. Romance is not going to play a big part in a story like this. So why is this series such a gem? Why do I love it so much? It's hard to say really, but Ferdinand, shallow creature that I am, I passed on this gem when it first came out as it didn't look too special. But once I gave it a chance, it had me hooked. While on a post-binge high, or rather a post-binge depression, I looked up its fandom page like a fool and got massively spoiled. 0 out of 10 stars. I would not recommend spoiling yourself on this one. Trust me. Yet because I was so spoiled, I was even more intrigued and super excited about what was coming up, so I ended up gleefully buying all the available translated light novel volumes, the fan book. I read the available manga translations, and when I got to the end of that, I delved headfirst into the original Japanese web novel and spent hours and hours of my beautiful summer trying to make sense of the gibberish that Google Translate spat out. It was a journey. The whole series is 677 chapters, and my obsessed self finished it all in a few weeks. It's safe to say I've come a bit unhinged, and so in my desperate hour of need, I turned to the great void that is the internet to expound with great enthusiasm about the number one reason why I love this series, because nobody else will listen to me. In this video, I will cover Ascendance of a Bookworm up to season 2, so if you haven't watched it yet, get your butt out of here and go watch it, like right now. Okay, so now, what we all came for. Why I love Ascendance of a Bookworm. And of course, the reason is Ferdinand. Ferdinand was immediately introduced to us in this scene in the hidden room, even though this was going to happen much later in the series. This created a sense of what's going on to attract the attention of the viewer. I suppose we can say that it was our framing device as he begins to narrate this story and continues on throughout the rest of the series. I'll be honest, I didn't care much for Ferdinand during this scene. You got to admit that there's a certain creep factor to drugging a little girl to see inside her memories, and his actions only make sense once we return to this scene at the end of season 2, and we are far more aware of the kind of world where Mine lives, and where we have established that Ferdinand truly does not wish her any harm, and even feels personally responsible for her safety. I do realize why the creators made this choice. The goal here was 1. To get him screen time for all the Japanese light novel fans who already loved him, and 2. Introducing a main character because his role, though minor until the second season, is important and we need to keep him in our minds, especially as the beginning episodes are a little slow. We're not even allowed to forget Ferdinand. He always does the recap with that delightful harpsichord music in the background just before the opening. And he and Mine, both in chibi form, share the post-credit time with cute banter and such that clearly establishes the teacher-student or mentor-mentee relationship between the two. They bounce off each other marvelously. Aside from cute character dynamics and the funny scenes that arise when they interact in season 2, Mine truly does need Ferdinand for her story to work. She needs a foil. In any narrative, a foil is a character who contrasts with another character, typically a character who contrasts with a protagonist, in order to better highlight or differentiate between certain qualities of the protagonist. There is no one more suited to be her foil in this world than Ferdinand. She's a commoner, he's a noble turned priest. She's expressive and open, while he is reserved and extremely cautious. She's unabashedly enthusiastic, while he is a bit of a grumpus. Physically, she is tiny and sickly, while he is a grown-up with magic, and it's pretty obvious that he's able to do it all. In most narratives, a foil is either the antagonist or the main character sidekick. But as much as we love our precious Lutz, after Mine enters the church, he just can't be there to help Mine navigate the world of the church. He has his own issues and his own path to follow. Hence, the best foil is Ferdinand, whose contrasting characteristics make Mine's own characteristics shine, and whose insight into noble society is necessary for us to understand the world of nobility. He has a knowledge that will help Mine avoid the dangers in the future, and that will help her learn how to work within the strict confines of nobility. They are literally from different worlds, with vastly different worldviews and values, and because a lot of their interactions play on these differences, we get many funny bits and misunderstandings, which in turn make Ferdinand more human. We also become quite interested in Ferdinand, like, why does he think the way he does? Why is he sometimes so harsh? What made him so careful around people? He doesn't seem like a bad guy, so why is he working under that horrid high priest? Why is he in the temple at all? Why does he find the concept of familiar love so alien? Does he really only see Mine as a valuable tool to exploit, or does he actually care for her? These are just a few questions that pop up as we watch Ascendance of a Bookworm. In a world where she's a commoner and commoners get killed for just talking back to a noble, Mine truly is a sitting duck. Realistically, without Ferdinand's training and protection, she was in great danger of being kidnapped for her mana or for her otherworldly knowledge. If Ferdinand had not been at that confrontation, her parents would have certainly been hauled off and killed. And at the very least, it would have been impossible for Mine to accomplish anything while being stuck at the temple for life. There wouldn't have been an orphanage workshop, and certainly the Bible for kids would not have happened. Mine's story needs Ferdinand. The beauty of the series, however, is not just that Mine needs Ferdinand to navigate the new world she's living in and to move the story forward. Ferdinand also needs Mine. In Season 1, Mine overcame her poverty and her ill health, and she grew a lot in the process. In Season 2, she's still learning and her growth is still happening. However, once Ferdinand is introduced and he is left to deal with Mine's outlandishness, it is clear that he takes a bit of that limelight as we explore and focus on his own character growth. Their interactions shed more light into Ferdinand rather than the other way around. Mine is already an open book to us. The careful Ferdinand is the one we end up wanting to crack open. I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb here when I say that rather than Ferdinand being Mine's foil, in Season 2 he becomes a main character in his own right, and Mine is his foil. She becomes instrumental in his own character growth. And yes, this is a bold claim, I know. This is just me, so feel free to disagree. I cannot give further evidence without venturing into spoiler territory, but for Ferdinand to go from being the coldly indifferent man who sat back and watched as the high priest threatened Mine and her family, to becoming the kind of person who would care enough about the safety of a troublesome little commoner girl with mana, is quite a journey if you ask me. Which leads to my last point. Ferdinand, the OP protagonist. Ferdinand protect, he attack, and he has got our girls back. When we think of an isekai, we think of a story where a person from our world gets hurled into an alien world, and somehow they have these magical powers with which they will save and rule the world. Ascendance of a Bookworm goes another route though, as the only thing this girl has going is her memories of her past life. She is weak, illiterate, and poor to the point that even parchment and ink are beyond her means. She has some magic, but it doesn't help her at all in overcoming her own personal obstacles. In fact, it is her magic that is setting her back, as it threatens to kill her since it is literally devouring her from the inside. We do get an overpowered character though, and that is Ferdinand. Like I said before, he can do it all. He has magic, He is a noble that outranks even the knight commander. He has a wicked, awesome flying lion and arrows of darkness that can bring down and defeat the monstrous Trombe. He has shiny hair that blows in the breeze as he rides out to battle. He can play the Harshspiel and has a voice that would make a woman swoon. He doesn't have a harem, of course, but he could if he put his talents to good use, I tell you. Ferdinand is awesome, and my point here is that he is awesome enough to not just be a secondary or supporting character, but a main character in his own right. The creators obviously think so. I mean, just look at how prominent he is in this poster. At this point in the story, my claim is a little far-fetched, of course. So it's fine if you disagree. For now, we just have to wait and see what Season 3 has in store for us. And I, for one, cannot wait for spring 2022. Anyway, this is the end of my unhinged rant. This is probably not the last time I'll be simping on Ferdinand, so be on the lookout for light novel and web novel content. But that will be for later.